And welcome back to another Wwenxt and to another edition of NXT Out of 10. And of course, we got all of the fallout from New Year's Eve today. Last week, Obafemi vacated the NXT Championship so he could head to the main roster. So yeah, obviously the show was focused around the fallout to that. And that's how it kicked off really after the recap of last week's episode with Ava holding the title. She said Obafemi relinquished the title. We saw most of the main roster surrounding the ring, but once Man felt the need to have his own entrance. Ricky Saints made his way out and said he should still be the champion and seemed to think Ava should just hand him the title. Ava said there'd be qualifying matches next week to determine who would fight for the NXT Championship in a 6-man ladder match on February 3rd. A huge brawl broke out for no reason, but it was kind of fun to watch one of the Evolved Stars throw people around and powerbomb someone through the announce table. All in all, this segment could have been an email. Keanu Carver from Evolve made the biggest impression as the last man standing, but a lot of fans in the arena were probably confused about who was beating everyone up, to be fair. Before we moved on to our first match, Kalani Jordan versus Lola Vice. Jordan got a big advantage, hitting Vice with a dropkick while she was entering the ring during her entrance. The ref called for the bell when they were both in the ring. Both women were unloading on each other as soon as they made contact. They kept a pace quick and tried to make this feel like a personal rivalry with their aggression. Vice had a power and striking advantage, but Jordan had her beat with speed and agility, so it felt like an even fight, which made it hard to predict. Not being able to tell who was going to win ahead of time always makes a match more engaging. This quick pace led to a couple of moments and didn't look great, but most of what they did in this match worked. Vice and Jordan are two bright young stars who are still growing, so it'll be interesting to see where they are in their journeys a few years from now. They did a good job keeping the crowd invested, and both of them came close to winning at different points, but it was Vice who ended up scoring a win with a brutal fleeing backfist. Overall, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. The men's speed championship was then on the line when Heights battled Troy. The big man was caught off guard when Heights came at him quick and tried to take control, but after 45 seconds Troy regained his footing and started dominating. When we got to the halfway mark in a 5-minute time limit, Troy had Heights grounded in a submission. Heights began to make a comeback and had the champ down for a big splash with about a minute left, but Troy kicked out. This used just over 4 of the 5 minutes, but Troy emerged victorious after hitting a big black hole slam for the pin. It's obviously a quick match by design, but yeah, this is probably one of the better speed matches. Troy looked good, but Heights was the star of this one. King showed up and attacked Heights after the match, so yeah, it looks like that feud will continue, which I'm not against. Overall, I'm not a big fan of speed matches. This was okay. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Moving on then to Blake Monroe, who was out to talk about what happened recently with the North American title. Monroe says she may have attacked Hale before their scheduled match, but she shouldn't have been able to compete for her own title in the first place. She claimed that she's the most complete woman in NXT, and the only reason she isn't the champion is because she lost her patient last week and getting kicked out of the building. Jada Parker got a nice spot when she came out to interrupt the promo. They barely said 2 words before they started fighting. Parker took out Monroe with a running hip to strike to end the scuffle. The promo portion was pretty standard stuff, but she did well enough with what she had. Parker coming out injected some energy at the end. Moving on then to Channing Lorenzo versus Shyla Hill. Grace accompanied Stacks to the ring for the TNA International match against Hill, who didn't have anyone in his corner. Grace gave Hill a quick slap before the match started. Hill smiled before going after Stacks in the corner. The champ gained the upper hand and started taunting Hill as he threw him from corner to corner. The newcomer surprised him with a roll up that was almost enough to get the win. Hill hit a rolling dive from the steps to the floor to take down Stacks as the show went to break. Hill has been a very weird character since he was introduced, but he was tried hard to make it look like he was decent in the ring for his few outings. Even if the match was a little forgettable, they had a few fun bits sprinkled in. With a little help from Grace, Stacks was able to reverse an inside cradle to get the pin and win. The ending was a little sloppy, but they made it work mostly. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. After a break, Dane came out to talk about winning the Women's North American title last week. She asked the crowd why they were happy to see her lose to Tatum Paxley last week. She said it had been watching everyone in NXT work so she could use it against them. Dane said losing to Paxley gave her clarity and helped her to become the champ. She mentioned a few names that she wants a title shot, but she also says they don't know what they're walking into. Paxley came out and rushed the ring to attack Dane, but security held her back so the champ could escape. Pax hit a ref, and the announcers mentioned it would cost her. The segment just ended there without any revolution. The promo from Dane was bland, which is unfortunate because she's usually gone on the like. Patsy coming out at the end was predictable but made the crowd happy. Before we moved on to our main event, Hendry had a few run-ins with Darkseid recently, so requested a match against Lennox with no DQs. Ava pointed out to him that this would give Lennox an advantage, so Hendry recruited Price and Nema to be in his corner for backup. The match started with an energetic lock-up as OTM and the rest of Darkseid watched from ringside. It almost felt like a lumberjack match at first, but both men trying to avoid being tossed out near their opponent's allies. It took a lot longer for people people at ringside to get involved than expected, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing because it allowed the focus to remain on the two men in the ring. It looked like Lennox was going to win, but OTM pulled him out of the ring to break up the pin. Darkseid and OTM fought each other until they were all backstage, leaving Hendry and Lennox to fight alone. Hendry kicked out of a spinebuster on a steel chair, and Lennox kicked out of a chokeslam on the same chair. Tony D showed up and hit Lennox with a chair, followed by a chokeslam. He helped Hendry up to only to chokeslam him too, put Hendry on top of Lennox to give him the win, confusing everyone, I think. Tony D took out several security guards. Ava tried to send out to the ring as the show was ending. Yeah, bit of a weird segment, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm intrigued to see where all this Tony D stuff goes. So yeah, overall, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Overall, this week's NXT gets a 5 out of 10 from me. It felt normal on paper, but it lacked something big to get people interested. The Speed title isn't really established enough to make people care. None of the matches really stood out. I mean, the main event was entertaining, but yeah, there just weren't any big shows on the horizon. So yeah, it just kind of felt like a bit of a nothing episode really for me, unfortunately. So yeah, 5 out of 10. That's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.